สวัสดีครับนักลงทุนทุกท่านครับขอต้อนรับเข้าสู่รายการ Trader KP Talk นะครับรายการที่ทำให้ทุกท่านทันโลกการลงทุนนะครับถึงแม้ช่วงนี้เนี่ยหุ้นไทยจะเดือดมากๆนะครับมีราคาผันผวนนะครับแล้วก็มีเรื่องราวมากมายนะครับแต่ว่าวันนี้นะครับสิ่งหนึ่งที่นักลงทุนต้องรู้เลยนะครับผมคิดว่าพลาดไม่ได้คือเรื่องการลงทุนในหุ้นต่างประเทศนะครับเพราะช่วงนี้ก็ตลาดก็ร้อนแรงเช่นเดียวกันนะครับหุ้น Tesla ก็ปรับตัวสูงขึ้นมาเรื่อยๆก่อนที่จะถึงวัน Investor Day ในวันที่1มีนาคมนี้นะครับที่เราต้องมาดูว่า Tesla เนี่ยจะมีการประกาศแผนธุรกิจอย่างไรบ้างนะครับวันนี้เป็นโอกาสที่พิเศษมากๆนะครับเพราะว่าผมได้เชิญนักลงทุน Tesla นะครับจากต่างประเทศนะครับจากประเทศสิงคโปร์นะครับคุณ Daren Yoong นะครับที่จะมาเล่าให้พวกเราฟังถึงว่าทำไมเขาถึงเป็น long term Tesla investor มานานแล้วนะครับแล้วก็ทำไมในพอร์ตของเขาเนี่ยถึงมีแค่หุ้น Tesla เป็น proportion ที่ใหญ่แล้วก็ไม่ได้ถือหุ้นตัวอื่นเลยนะครับอาจจะมี Apple สักหน่อยนะครับเนี่ยทำไมเขาถึงเชื่อมั่นในธุรกิจ Tesla มากแล้วสามารถถือหุ้นได้ตัวเดียวขนาดนี้เขามองเห็นอะไรใน Tesla นะครับแล้วก็วันที่1มีนาคมเนี่ยทำไมมันถึงสำคัญมากๆนะครับที่นักลงทุนต้องติดตามเนี่ยผมก็เลยเชิญนะครับนักลงทุนเรียกว่าระดับประเทศระดับโลกเลยนะครับจากสิงคโปร์มาคุยกับพวกเรากันนะครับแล้วก็เซสชันนี้เป็นเซสชันแรกที่จะพูดภาษาอังกฤษนะครับก็ตื่นเต้นเล็กน้อยนะครับก็ยังไงเดี๋ยวเซสชันนี้จะดำเนินเป็นภาษาอังกฤษนะครับ all right, everyone. So as I mentioned, today will be the first episode that we will conduct in English. I'm very excited to be speaking with Daren Yoong, one of the Tesla investor in one of the core member of the Tesla community. Yeah. So it is an honor to talk to Daren today. So I'll welcome him on the show. Hi, Daren.
Hello, Swadee Krab, and thank you for having me on your first English episode.
Yes, it's an honor to have you on our first English episode, Daren. So I've mentioned to the Thai investor that watching our channels that you also have a YouTube channel that mostly cover Tesla, right?
Chai Krab, yes.
Chai Krab, yeah. So Daren, why don't you give a bit of introduction about yourself? So how did you come to investing or come to make your YouTube channel that's specifically on Tesla? Please.
Okay. I'm originally from Malaysia. I grew up in Kuala Lumpur and I moved to Singapore 15 years ago in 2008. Now I'm a Singapore citizen. So I started investing in Tesla in August 2020. So actually quite recently, about 3 years ago. And that only happened because of COVID. We had a lot more free time. I've known of Tesla and Elon Musk for a few years before that, almost a decade, but I never really did anything about it because I was working in a big corporation, just busy with life, busy with work. COVID gave all of us a chance to reflect. Some of us are so bored at home, our life changed, people got healthier, got new habits. For me, it was starting to invest in Tesla. How my YouTube channel came about, which is my name, Daren Yoong, was not my plan. I did not plan to start a YouTube channel. 3 years ago, I joined a coaching program. They asked me what was my life purpose, my goal, my passion. And I said to create economic opportunity for people. In a one-on-one conversation, the lives I could touch are more limited. On YouTube, the reach is far bigger. You could reach anyone, anywhere who has an internet connection around the world. And it could be in different time zones because they could watch a video when I'm not awake. So in the coaching program, I told them I'll start a YouTube channel. And I thought that was the end of it. And a few weeks later, they text me and asked, so Daren, what's the link to your YouTube channel? And I said, oh, crap. Now I really need to create a YouTube channel. So I made the first video. I thought, okay, that was really scary, but not too bad. So I made the second video and then the third video. And then more than 200 videos later, I'm still making videos on my YouTube channel. It's been going around for almost 1.5 years.
Wow. By the way, our team will put the link to your YouTube channel so that the friends in Thailand can follow. So it's just your name, right? The name of the channel is Daren Yoong. Spell right, exactly like as your name. Okay, so we'll link it up. Okay, Daren. Before today definitely we're going to deep dive into Tesla. But before that, let's talk about the background a little bit there. So you mentioned that August 2020 when you first started investing in Tesla. So before that, were you investing in any stocks, or what sort of investing were you doing? Yeah.
Not at all. I was basically not investing at all. I was keeping cash, like a few $100,000 just sitting in a bank account, doing nothing. terrible. Like it's the worst thing you can do. In fact, I wanted to use all my cash to just fully pay off my home loan. I thought that would be like financial freedom, no debt. So life really changed a lot in the past 3 years. I have stocks in the company that I've been working in. So apart from passively having stocks in my company I work in, which we get stock grants every year, I had no other major forms of investment.
Okay, so those who has followed Daren on the channel will know that Daren is very good at the way you explain. You make things really simple, for investor to digest your story and all. So I wonder. Let me step back to earlier question. So what did you come across first, so that you started investing in Tesla in August 2020? Was it the Tesla itself, or was it the interest into investing at first?
It was the interest. I'm a big science fiction fan, so it was interest in Elon Musk, SpaceX, Tesla. I'm actually a bigger SpaceX fan than Tesla fan. But SpaceX is a private company, and unless you have $500 million, it's a bit harder to invest in SpaceX. So for years, I thought of investing in Tesla, but just inertia, like I never bothered creating a trading account, a brokerage account, putting money in to invest, got to fill in those US declaration forms. It felt like too much effort, and I thought I could wait. And when COVID happened, I really had time to really sit down and do it. And that really became a forcing mechanism for me to start investing in Tesla. So because I had a larger sum of money, just as cash, doing nothing, literally, losing money to inflation, I put a fair bit on Tesla, even from the beginning. So my portfolio from the moment I started investing was about 75% Tesla. The remaining 25% is Apple. These are my two publicly held stocks. I also have another stock, which is my employer. I can't talk about my employer.
Understand. Let's just talk about the two holding there, Tesla and Apple. Okay, so 75% Tesla, 70, like three-fourths is Tesla and 1/4 is Apple. Okay, so let's talk about that. Like when I've been similar to you, Daren. I've been investing a long time, but I haven't gone all into Tesla until around 2020 as well on that big spike. So I keep increasing my position into Tesla as times move that year, move on. So just wanted to talk to how did you come from starting investing to investing just in two stocks? Because I thought the path that people start investing is supposed to be in mutual funds. People start off in mutual funds, buy a lot of stocks, holding a lot of stocks in the portfolio. How did you come up with the idea of just, okay, I'll just hold these two stocks?
Being a fan of Elon, the way he thinks about building his products, engineering, one thing that sticks with me is first principles thinking. That means going to the source of truth. Elon often says that physics is the law, everything else is recommendation. So when you think about conventional wisdom about building rockets, how it was impossible to land rockets, SpaceX proved conventional wisdom wrong. So when I think about conventional wisdom on investing, most people will say, Chris, Daren, just put all your money into an ETF or S&P 500. But then if you dig deeper and ask yourself, if you're investing in 500 companies, how do you know what these companies are doing? Are all 500 companies good companies? Probably not. And if that's the case, why would you invest in 500 companies? It's because we don't know better. But what if we knew better? We know better by doing research, by understanding the industries, the products, the services, the customers. And so I felt personally for me, really deeply knowing 2 to 3 companies would be a way that works for me. That's my own way of applying first principles thinking. I've been following Tesla for some time, even though I don't drive a Tesla yet. I've spent so much time with owners, with employees around the world right now, and I still spend a lot of time doing it regularly. So that gives me confidence to invest in one big stock, Tesla, which is 75% of my holdings. For Apple, I've been using Apple products daily for more than a decade. My first Apple product was the iPod, and right now everything in my home is Apple. So I know the good, the bad, and the ugly of all Apple products, the ecosystem stickiness. And more than that, these two are companies. They are consumer companies. They're not B2B companies. And being a consumer company means your friends, your family experience, see it. You can see these products on the road. In Singapore, I can see more Teslas coming up. In Bangkok, we all see a lot more Teslas coming up. The price is
Yes.
so compelling, same price as a Camry. You see more Apple stores in Singapore, more Apple stores in Bangkok. And so that gives me the confidence to know that this is something real, tangible, even though it's just two companies. Compared to, let's say, Bitcoin. Bitcoin can go up to 80,000 US dollars, can go down to 16,000, it's back to 24, 26,000 now. I can't look at something and say more people are using Bitcoin or this is more useful, but I can do that for Tesla and Apple. And because it's only two companies, I have enough time to truly, deeply understand them. I can't say the same if I invested in 500 companies. It feels like leaving my fate to other people.
Okay, thank you for sharing your logic. So now we know that you only want to invest in a company that you know well about. As you mentioned, Tesla and Apple, these consumer products you are used to, you see it. And you don't want to invest in companies you don't have time to study, and you don't even know what the rest of the S&P 500 companies are doing. But what about if someone comes to you and say, look, but do you know your risk? Because, for example, if the economy are growing constantly, the S&P 500 are going up steadily with the economy, right? The US economy. But somehow there's some black swan event or some unknown event that caused the company like Apple and Tesla to lag or to underperform. And you ended up not participating in those growth, right? How do you answer to them that your philosophy has been, thought like well through to withstand those question?
Good point. Everyone's situation is different, so some context to add to this. I've got a home that's on track to be paid for within the coming years. In Singapore, we've got the Central Provident Fund, our retirement savings. I've already got enough cash there for full retirement sum. That means even when I retire, I'll still get a monthly pension or payout. So that baseline, that foundation is there. We've got a dual income family. My wife is working as well. So there's a salary from my wife also. Most of my career I've been working in a day job. So I got a monthly salary stream from a day job too. So it's not a YOLO all in, everything will test out. Because yes, black swan events can happen. Anything can happen. But for me right now, even if Tesla and Apple goes to zero, it sucks a lot, but it is not catastrophic. My life still goes on. I'm not taking up a lot of margin, like I need to sell my house if Tesla goes to zero. That's not the situation. And I think that's an important distinction.
Okay, so you have done your financial planning so that the money you're investing in Apple and Tesla, although it's a big portion, right, as you mentioned, but it's not everything. Like your life can still goes on, and as you mentioned, you have other plans, other income apart from this. So thank you. So I think that's a key to everyone before anyone about to go YOLO in or into Tesla or any stocks is to do your financial planning first, and know what's your income or your day-to-day
I want to
stream of
add,
income. Sure,
when we
Daren,
think
please.
of risk, it's important for us to have a broader view of risk as well. We often see risk as, oh, what if I lose everything? But risk also works the other way around. What if I do nothing and I risk not stepping into potential gains? Especially if there's a chance for you to really research a company, it's something tangible, you can see the change happening in front of your eyes. I can almost guarantee you in the next 12 months, by the end of this year, you see so many more Teslas, not just in Bangkok, but around Thailand. And if you're just a normal retail investor, you can see the product adoption happening before your eyes, like iPhone a decade before this. So the risk is also, what if I stand to lose? The risk is, what if I'm getting returns that are not even beating inflation? So I think we must see risk both ways.
Very well said, Darren. Thank you. Let's talk Tesla. Now let's go into Tesla. A lot of fans are asking questions coming in now, so I'll just have bring their questions up so that they can interact with you, Daren. There's one question before Tesla. Okay, Kunnan is asking, who's your favorite investor, Daren? Like Kathy Wood, Warren Buffett, Ray Dalio, Peter Lynch, and on who that what is there anyone out of these lists that makes you start investing in August 2020?
My favorite investor and the one person who inspired me the most is Dave Lee. Dave Lee's been investing in Tesla for more than a decade right now. And he's taken a very calm, collected, long-term approach to investing in Tesla. He first bought Tesla in 2013 after trying the Model S himself. And for 6 years, there was initial gain in 2013, but for 6 years after that, the stock was flat. Yet he constantly did research on the company, the products, the fundamentals. His conviction stayed on. And from 2018 to 2020, we all saw a very rapid acceleration. For someone like Dave Lee right now, his Tesla cost price is $2. That's 100 times return. That means even if Tesla stock price goes to $60 now, someone's worst case scenario, that's still a 30x return, which is pretty crazy. So someone like Dave Lee was specifically inspired me.
Yeah, talk about the power of compounding long-term investing that Dave's got in his 15 years investing in Tesla now. Okay, so share with Kunnan. So Darren's favorite investor might not be on your list, Nan, but Dave Lee is one of the, as Daren said, the early in Tesla investor, and he do a lot of research, and he does share out on his YouTube channel. Similar to Daren, as soon as he start investing in Tesla, he started bringing out his content. And there's one video. If you want to know who Dave Lee is, I recommend you to go to Daren's channel and watch Daren's interview with Dave Lee. That's
I was
a
very
good one.
fortunate to get to meet him last year in Giga, Texas.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, it's a really good interview, and we want to talk about your experience visiting you visited both Giga Texas and Giga Berlin, correct?
That's right.
Oh man, I'm jealous. Nice there. Okay, let's go to the next question. It's very recent, this one. Mr. Chon, DB investor, asked, what do you think about the company that Tesla bought, lithium mining company, and expand business vertically? Will this be better or worse for Tesla? I think he's asking about the latest news, maybe?
Yes.
On
Australian company that just asked to stop trading. This is not the first time Tesla has bought a mining-related company. I think this is at least the second time. And we'll see news very shortly in the coming days, or definitely next week by Investor Day. Many companies are vertically integrated, just like BYD. But if you look at the whole EV supply chain, the most critical element now, not just for cars, is the raw materials to make batteries. What do we need batteries for? Yes, the EVs, the Model 3, Model Y that we're selling in Thailand now, S and X later this year in Thailand, but also Tesla's energy business, the power walls, those mega packs. Those mega packs are selling for $2 million US. Think of the margins there. But not just that. You know what else is going to need a lot of battery? And that Tesla is going to make millions if they're successful? Tesla bots. So you got the cars, you got the energy business, you've got the bots. All of these need one thing: batteries, raw materials.
Yes.
And so the vertical integration here, I believe that this is just one of many more that needs to come. A lot more. And we'll talk about what I think that will mean on Tesla Investor Day, and also Elon's plan to share the Tesla Master Plan Part 3.
Okay. Thank you, Daren. Yeah, this is getting started. We'll talk in details on about that. Thank you, DB Investor, for the question. So I think this last question before we go back to my list is Mr. 13 Brew asking, so after you mentioned that, Daren, so you think in the future Tesla Energy will have a bigger market than EV for Tesla?
Okay. So there's two parts, right? The little question here now is growth. Okay, so I'm going to answer the growth, then the market. For growth, it is growing faster than the EV business now. If you open Tesla's Q4 quarterly earnings, the energy business is growing faster than EVs. I think EVs is growing about 30+%. The energy business is growing, I think, about 50+%. So it is already growing faster today than EVs, just at a smaller base. Now, would it be a bigger market in the future? To me, it depends on whether Tesla solves autonomy and robotaxis. Because the EV, if it's just a car market, that's one thing. But if it solves autonomy and robotaxis, the value of the car, as Elon mentioned, it will grow by 5x. Because today, no matter how much we love our Teslas, they're still in the car park 95% of the time. But if suddenly Chris Model Y has robotaxis, instead of sitting in the car park for 8 hours a day, he could, if he doesn't want to rent it out to strangers, he could let family ride it. Family who don't need a driver's license ride it. The car is being used 8 hours a day. Or pick up your pets, pick up your groceries. The value of the car will 5x if Tesla can properly solve robotaxis. So I think when we see EVs, think of the car as a platform, not just the product by itself, but it is the platform. The Tesla cars that you see on the roads in Bangkok, think of them like the PlayStation 5. Yes, you make money selling the car or the PlayStation, but you make more money with the services and what it can do, the new games in the PlayStation 5. For the car, it's a platform for robotaxis, a future Tesla app store, the 8 cameras in the car feeding and training Google's machine learning. Because Tesla bot will also use the same FSD computer as the cars.
Wow, Daren, we share the same thoughts. Every time I try to explain that to people around me, I get two reactions. Let's say if I explain to an investor, they're saying, okay, good, that's a very good growth stories, but how are you sure that Tesla is going to be the first to solve that autonomy?
Nobody can be 100% sure. There are a lot of Chinese EV companies doing a lot of work with their own autonomous driving. Most of them are using LiDAR. Most of them have a local maximum. And that will be linked to what I think would be some of Tesla's unique strengths, if you want to talk about that right now.
Sure, please.
Okay. So one of the things that I believe strongly in Tesla as a strength is they think about scale. So the thing about scale in cars, we know that the way they make the Model 3, the Model Y, the Giga cars, they think about making millions of cars, not just 100,000 cars. Like Rivian is having a tough time ramping. Lucid's having a tough time ramping. BYD is one of the few companies that's ramping EVs very well. Most others are not. So they're ramping well with cars. But they are also ramping well with where you think their autonomy software. So most other companies, they have a local maximum. They're like, okay, let me give you a high resolution map of Shenzhen. And the cars work very well only in the defined area in Shenzhen. But if there's major roadworks, major constructions, they need to manually upload a new map and retrain everything. Whereas for Tesla's way of solving, they're really trying to create a brain, like using the cameras, feeding the brain in real time, direct the car. That means it doesn't matter whether you drop your Model Y in Chiang Mai, in Bali, in Phuket, it will figure out the way, even if you change the roads right now in real time. Suddenly there's a concert or there's cows crossing the road, you will find a way. So it's thinking about scale. And why is that scale important? It's solving for planet Y. But one day, you see this picture behind me? One day, the first car company, interplanetary car company for commercial industrial use will be Tesla. Who's going to put cars in the moon and Mars first? That sounds like science fiction, right? I'm a big science fiction fan. So when I think 30, 40 years down the road, I can't think of any other companies that will be an interplanetary company the way Tesla is. So the scale, the way that they think very long term is very important. And that's why I feel that Tesla is still one of the few founder-led companies. Founder-led companies means they can have really big, crazy dreams. If you are run with a professional CEO, it's about quarterly earnings, making sure that the profits are good, pleasing the institutional investors, giving dividends, doing stock buybacks, ESG ratings. It's a very different world. A founder like Elon can make very bold bets. Founders can make right or wrong choices, which is good and bad as well. Some people feel, example, like for Mark Zuckerberg with Meta and the Metaverse, people are not sure whether that's a good bet or not. It may be wildly successful or it may become a big distraction. But at least we all know that they're doing something. So I think that's the benefit and one of the strengths of a founder-led company like Tesla.
Daren, that's definitely the strength of Tesla being founder-led, and we've got a bold one there in our leader. Elon is really choosing the way that he either wants to win it all or none, because let's go back to the way you talk about FSD versus LiDAR, the way autonomous is being solved now. Is there a chance, by Elon going all in with FSD, using just, cameras and, like you mentioned, the way to solve autonomy is with scale? You can go anywhere with a smart AI-driven car. If you accomplish it, you can scale anywhere. But there's an easier solution using LiDAR or other scientific tools to help. But then you need the data, as Daren mentioned, the fence, so that the car can drive it into the fence. It takes a lot more time to scale those fences. Is there, in your opinion, is there a chance that this all-in method could end up not working at all? And have you thought about any of the bets that Elon is making are too bold?
Yes, there is a chance, and for a lot of companies, sometimes like progress, like perfect. People say, right, perfect's the enemy of progress. Yes, like if you have something that works a little bit, why not build on that step by step? Every year be a bit better. Why take the purest approach of FSD? But actually, if you think about it, if LiDAR is so good, name me one other company that has more autonomy users than Tesla. Tesla has 400,000 FSD beta users today, right now, not tomorrow, not next week, but now. 400,000 in US and Canada. If they're paying just $200 a month, you multiply by 400,000 and you multiply by 12 months. That's about $1 billion in revenue run rate right now. This is basically pure profits to Tesla because it's just literally a software update. $1 billion in pure profits right now, today. Name me any other company making $1 billion in annual run rate profits right now. There isn't. So I think it's very important, again, we come back to first principles. When people argue with all these like examples, let's look at facts. Let's look at the numbers. And right now, the facts show that Tesla is making the most money in the world from customers today on autonomy.
So from what you're saying is that you're certain that this battle will be Tesla will win this battle. From what you're calculating, you don't really see anyone catching up to Tesla in autonomy.
I don't see it as binary. I think many other companies can be successful in autonomy. I think the larger point to land here is that some people criticize that Tesla is not achieving anything with autonomy, like it's a pipe dream. I think the key point for us here to land is that this is real revenue, real user base today for Tesla already. And because Tesla has so many cars on the road, they're on track to sell more cars than BMW and Mercedes this year, which is crazy. With the number of cars on the road, the amount of training that Tesla is taking is very significant. And we see with internet companies, the more users, the more training, the more successful they are, the better the models will be. I think Tesla has a good track of doing that. I think a few Chinese car companies may have a good shot at also solving autonomy well as well. I think there will be multiple companies solving autonomy together. But just like how there are multiple smartphone brands, there are multiple operating systems, there will be a few that stand out. And right now, Tesla looks like the one that will also stand out around the world.
Okay. I certainly hope so, Daren. We're on the same boat. But let me turn to a Tesla bear for a second here and ask you, do you think, is there any chance with the FSD developing, in the end, there might be too many edge cases for the AI to be able to solve? So at the end, you could have a car that drives very well, but at the end, you couldn't get a complete 100% to safety because there are too many edge cases. Is that a possibility?
Yes, that's a very real possibility. The whole nature of edge cases is that it will be like a cat and mouse game. You're constantly solving new ones. Roads change, societies change, new housing estates come up. But if you can drive well like 90% of the time, Like if most people feel safe, okay, I'm going to take my Tesla in the highway and I won't expect any problems. That's already a very compelling product. For road trips, highways are like 90% of your drive. So if you're driving in the US or Europe, for instance, or even if you're going from Bangkok to Chiang Mai, even basic autopilot will drive you 90% of the way. That's already a very compelling product. Another thing is for Tesla investors, right now, in almost no institutional investors' valuation is there FSD. That means FSD and autopilot is pure upside. There is no downside to the stock price. If Elon says we're closing full self-driving, the stock price may even go up because institutional investors will say, oh, great, distraction is gone. They can now just focus on making cars.
Now you can remove all the expensive cameras. Then maybe your cost of
Exactly.
the cars are less.
Institutional investors don't believe in FSD right now. In fact, they think it could be a potential distraction. Stock price will go up if Elon says we're canceling FSD. That's the irony.
Yeah.
But that's the amazing part for us as retail investors. If we are thinking ahead, if you have friends who are engineers working in FSD team, or you, even better yet, if you talk to engineers in competitor companies, you talk to an engineer in BYD and Volkswagen, you ask them, what do you really think about Tesla FSD in private? Not in the stream where your employer will see them, but in private. I have spoke to a few and they say Tesla is making solid progress. The media will often show the sensational things that it does wrong. But if you look at the facts, you look at other car companies and autonomy, many of them have done wrong things as well. But articles on Tesla gets 5 times more clicks. Media companies make money through clicks and advertising. So when we look at the truth, that gives someone like me confidence. And that's why I feel very confident having Tesla at 75% there.
We have to talk about media versus Tesla. I've noted down, but we still got a few more questions on FSD and the valuation. Okay, so as I mentioned to you that I've got 2 reactions when I tell people about FSD and the possibility of using the car 90% more times, utilizing it. And the first question I got was, they were saying, oh, how do you know Tesla will solve it? Which you answered, Daren explained. But the second one is about valuation. They say like, how do you know those valuation has not baked into the stocks? So let's talk about numbers a little bit, Daren, because I know you're very good at breaking down number for people to understand it in a simple way. So you mentioned FSD has not baked in. So please kind of elaborate on that, on how Tesla is being valued right now at, I think about 25 PE or so, 25 to 30 right now with the current price of 200. Could you quickly explain to us on this number why you think FSD is not baked in?
So 2 reasons. One, the current PE multiples went slightly up again. It's now around 50, but it's still far lower. Like it's far lower than 1,000 PE. I think when we bought it in 2020, the PE was $500 to $1,000, like way more.
Yes.
So if you just do purely as car company, you go from 1.3 million cars produced to, let's say Tesla only achieves half its goal. Instead of making 20 million cars a year, they make 10 million cars a year. So let's say you 10x the car production. With 10x car production, your still margin stays the same, it goes down slightly. But then you got new software revenue from real businesses today, like insurance. You've got the energy business, which is growing bigger. These are facts. These are happening now. These are not new business. These are not hypothetical. The stock would just 10x for it by being a car company in the next 10 years. So that's one. With a PE of 50, or even if you take 25, the stock will still about 5 to 10x in the next 10 years in 2030. Second, on Twitter, Gary Black stays very closely with institutional investors, and he constantly says that even in his model and talking to other institutional investors, none of them or almost no one factors in full self-driving in their base case scenario. Like you see institutional investors saying, okay, Tesla stock price should be 250 or 300 or whatever number. There is no FSD in it. None.
It's just either the optimism of the sales or the pessimism of the sale that derive the price of each
They're
price
still
target,
thinking
right?
old school. They're like, oh, if Tesla launches some Cybertruck, okay, bullish, buy more. So they're thinking old school. It's like waiting for Toyota or Ford to launch a new model. But again, that's not first principles thinking, right? So most car companies have more than 20 models globally. to sell the same or less cars than Tesla. BYD, which is often compared to Tesla now, needs to sell 16 models compared to Tesla's 4 models to achieve the same sales of EVs. In fact, Tesla still sells more EVs than BYD right now, even though BYD has 4 times more models. So a car company with 4 times less models means less different components, more streamlined, more scale. If you do one thing really well, like if you just play piano really well and you play 10,000 times more than other people, you're just going to do it in a lower cost, more efficient and better. That's why Model Ys are one of the quality of build a Model Y from 5 years ago. I had not 4 years ago. Owners are saying, oh, this car was like so many panel gaps, so many errors. You look at the new Model Ys delivered in Bangkok today. They're not perfect, but they're really good. The build quality has went up so much. And that's what can be done when you simplify, you do a few well.
Is that the way that Elon also works and thinks that, he try to push things out first, he try to do it, and then he'll correct things along the way, like improve, instead of trying to like perfection it before launching or anything. He tries to really just go push the things out, improve it as we go along. What do you think, Daren? What's your thought on that?
He certainly tries where they can. So example, like for SpaceX, they launched a lot of rockets trying to land them back. They even made a 1-minute clip video of all their rockets exploding. What other space company would make a 1-minute video of the rockets exploding? They would never do that. The PR team would say, no, you'll scare away your customers and the government. Don't do that. But SpaceX has this 1-minute video where you see Elon Musk in it.
Official video then.
The officially
SpaceX.
The SpaceX channel, inspecting the wreckage there. Why? Because they want to show, they actually want to inspire engineers to let young engineers know that, hey, it is okay to fail and make mistakes as long as we progress. That is why Tesla and SpaceX are the top 2 employers for graduate engineers. Multiple years of surveys in the US. But there's also times when this approach is not warranted. So example, when SpaceX had their first manned mission, when they first launched astronauts on the Falcon 9, to Elon's like 0 room for error, multiple safety checks. He was praying. He says he's not a religious person, but the day when they launched the first NASA astronauts, or 2 of them, he was just praying, please, everything does work. There is 0 room for error. He made sure that all the employees in SpaceX met those 2 astronauts and their family and say, these people need to come back home to their families. No room for error. So I think the point here is that we can have both. If something is life critical, like it deals with human life, there is no room for error. If it's making a car better or making a rocket better, let's do it. Let's make mistakes and fail. So now that how that plays out is Tesla's number 1 value proposition. Even though people say like, oh, the panel gaps are there and everything, the one thing that no one will fault Tesla for is safety. We've seen all these videos, right? In the US recently, unfortunately, a guy tried to drive his family down a cliff and everyone survived. Like Teslas constantly save lives. The number 1 priority that Teslas are built for is safety. So actually, when a lot of like families ask me, oh, Daren, should I buy the Tesla because of the crazy acceleration, instant torque, or should I buy it because it's saving the environment? Should I buy it because there's Netflix and YouTube and a computer? I say no. The number 1 reason why you should buy the Tesla is because the life of your child, your parent, and your loved one is priceless. You would pay anything for it. And Teslas are the safest car for you.
Thank you, Daren, for bringing up that point. It's really, underrated out there. That people don't think of Tesla as safety at first, the first option, as you mentioned, but it is really the truth that Tesla has saved a lot of lives out there. Maybe not be in the news, as people see, but yes, certainly. And FSD, as we talk about FSD and all that, I know Tesla is not trying to develop just to create more money or efficiency or anything, but it is going to be safer, right, for people to drive the car. To have autonomous driving than people driving a car every day. So I think that's one of the main reason why Elon is trying to develop this FSD.
I want to build on that. What I think is going to happen is, so like these superchargers, Tesla is opening them up in Europe, in US, Australia. I believe they'll eventually open them up to other non-Tesla EVs in Singapore and Thailand as well. So what happens? This becomes a new stream of business. And in fact, every new EV that is sold becomes a potential supercharger customer. Now, when you think of FSD, it's like seatbelts. All cars have seatbelts today. They were invented by Volvo. And because it was so effective, Volvo decided to give the seatbelt technology out for free, the patent out for free to all car companies. If Tesla solves autonomy and FSD, the cars are going to be so much safer that it will be insane to drive a car without FSD. That potentially Ford and GM may license FSD from Tesla. I don't think Tesla will give it up for free because of all the engineering, the maintenance costs, and the infrastructure behind it, but they could license it out to other car companies. BYD, some Chinese car companies, they may well develop their own, but if you look at a lot of European, US car companies, I don't think they're anywhere near. So if they license it out, so imagine right now, every single Ford that's sold, when Ford sells F-150, they'll hear like, okay, here's an FSD license, you got to pay Tesla $100 a month. Can you imagine?
Yes. Understand that. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, thank you for building on it. I can't wait for FSD to be accomplished. You know, they can unlock a lot more things that we couldn't have been calculating or think about it right now. Sure. Okay. Now let's talk about the other company that you're holding. And since we talk about FSD, one other company is talking about bringing out their own car, which is going to have FSD as well, which is Apple. So Nan is asking, you know, she thinks Apple car and Tesla car will be the only two future cars in the future that we'll see. What's your thought on it? Will Apple really accomplish this, in your view?
I believe that Apple is more likely to be successful as a car operating system than as a car hardware manufacturer. Because if Apple starts making their own hardware cars, other companies are going to stop using CarPlay. They don't want to feed a competitor. Apple right now fully outsources everything. They don't really make any of the devices in-house. They're all contract manufacturers, Foxconn and others. And Tesla's model and BYD's model showing that if you outsource, you're not going to be able to get the competitive advantage in cost that is needed to be profitable, especially with Tesla and BYD in the top end and the bottom end, basically squeezing almost everyone out. We know that almost all cars in the future will be EVs already. EV adoption has already reached escape velocity. That means there is no country that says, I don't want EVs. It's almost impossible because imagine, let's say, hypothetically, Philippines says, we do not want EV. But what's going to happen is all these car companies, they're going to stop R&D on new ICE vehicles. So even if you don't want EV, the only car you have left to buy 10 years from now is an EV. Unless you buy an old second-hand resale car.
Yes.
So I think for Apple, while I invest in Apple, I don't believe that they're going to be, at this stage, with the information we have, an effective car manufacturer. I think they have a great shot to be a great car software platform. Like the Apple Store, the App Store, will exist in cars. And they will partner with all the existing car companies to do so. And when you look at the CEO, Tim Cook, his passion is not in cars. When reporters ask him, Tim, what's the legacy you'll leave behind in Apple? He says, the world is going to know us for our contribution to health. Health, that means, look at this device, our Apple Watch, our AirPods, everything around us, it gives us biometric readings, it keeps us safe, it monitors our heart rate. And solving health is a far bigger addressable market than solving autonomy. And I think Apple would win in health because we trust Apple a lot. The brand is already very strong with trust there. For Apple to make a car, I don't see how Apple would make a better car than BYD.
I see. So let's make a bold prediction here. You think they'll do better in software, but they will try to come up with the real physical car, right? But you just don't think it will do well, or you think they'll just end up not building a car and sort of like sell the software?
They've been trying for almost a decade, like their car division, the secret car division has been there for a decade. The leadership keeps on changing. So if you just see every 6 months or 1 year, there's another change in the autonomy division leadership.
Yeah.
That gives you a very strong signal that it's not coming next week, next month, or next year.
So the year that they give out the timeline now is what, 25th or 26th right now?
It's been evolving a lot. I think right now it's at 2025, 2026.
Okay. So your bold prediction now, 25, 26. Let's say 26.
Yeah.
Let's say end of 26. Will we see the first Apple car, Daren?
Short answer, no.
Okay. We'll see. Bold prediction here today on our show, Daren. Okay, let's see. So then maybe
I would love Apple to make an Apple car. I think that would be so good for Tesla and BYD to spur them to innovate better. This is something I share with friends as well. This is close on this point. If Steve Jobs was still around, Apple will make an Apple car. And Steve Jobs would really push Elon. Like nowadays, no competitor really triggers Elon. Like Elon just laughs at them. But if Steve Jobs are around, he would really piss off Elon. And that would be great for all of us because then Tesla and Apple cars would be so much better. I think
hear you, right? Yeah. No one's really
missed out on that.
No one's really on, Elon's heel to like pressure him to bring out. I think the recent competition in China that's bringing new Model 3 is your example, right? Like, like now that, okay, BYD are selling a bit better, Tesla's like, okay, like maybe it's time to bring out a new Model 3 revamp. Whereas like, if you're saying it's Steve Jobs versus Elon, it's going to be like better, newer model, like every time, right? Yeah.
Elon doesn't have a real threat, a real nemesis. BYD is very polite. They say that my competition is not Tesla or competition is ICE cars. BYD just put their head down, make great cars. Whereas if Steve Jobs was running Apple with an Apple car, he'll be like, it's stupid to buy a Tesla. Why would you buy a Tesla? And the audience will just cheer him on. And Elon will get so triggered. He'll be on Twitter, dissing on Steve Jobs. They'll be dissing each other, but they'll also respect each other. And it's such an exciting possibility to have both of them around, competing.
Yeah. What a shame, Daren. Honestly, that would have been an exciting world and a great world for innovation that we live in if that happened. Off topic a little bit. Did you hear about the Facebook using the blue badge, the recent news? So did you hear that? Yeah. So I think that's another example that why you said Elon are laughing at the big tech or the other CEO right now is because I think there are a lot of things that big tech company should do or they may be afraid that they'll get criticized for or whatever. So I think Elon started to do it now. Like for example, he's firing people, and then now the big tech are firing people as well. Like finally they think, oh, it's okay to fire people. Okay, we'll do it too. And Elon's doing the blue badge, collecting money for subscription. Now everyone's doing it. So what's your thought on that?
I think Elon provides the air cover for other companies to follow. So to me, that's a signal again of leadership. That Elon's companies, Tesla, SpaceX, they're willing to lead. They're willing to take the risk. And that attracts talent. Talent want to work in companies where there is decisive leadership. There's a very clear mission. If you go to a SpaceX office, everyone will tell you, if you ask them what's their mission, my mission is to make humanity a multiplanetary species. We're going to put people on Mars. Everyone is clear. You go to Tesla, what's the mission? World transition to sustainable energy. Actually, I think that mission may potentially have an evolution after Tesla Investor Day. Because you think about it, when Elon unveils Master Plan Part 3, robots don't really accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. They do something else. They make the world better. And I think Tesla's mission will broaden, just like how it broadened, I think, in 2016 or earlier, when Tesla's mission changed from accelerating the world transition to sustainable transport to sustainable energy. They replaced transport and energy. I think now we are time for another broadening of Tesla's mission.
Wow. So I'll just bring up this question as we're speaking about it. Mr. Tanakon asks, what do you think Investor Day would be? So your first prediction is you think there'll be a mission statement change in Tesla?
I feel it's possible. Okay, we start with the obvious things. The obvious things is Tesla's going to talk about the third generation platform. They're going to talk about new gigafactory locations. They may share some news about future stock buyback plans. So those are the obvious things out of the way. But I think with Master Plan Part 3, what does it entail? Like, what does it show? Because Elon has hinted before, we want to solve things planet-wide. We want planet-wide scale. So the mission has to evolve because it's now becoming a bit more than energy. With robots, with autonomy, Elon has talked before about how if Tesla bots are real, what are people doing? So I think that's one possible thing that could happen. Another wild card, very, very low chance, but could happen in Investor Day is many years ago, Elon said that they wanted to give Tesla investors priority for Starlink IPO. Recently, Gwynne Shotwell shared that Starlink's on track to be profitable this year. So maybe that's a very, very low chance, less than 2% chance that they be announced that, hey, we're going to IPO Starlink and Tesla investors, you're going to have priority. Make sure to register on the Tesla website as a verified investor.
Let's break that down. So you think the chance is low because like maybe not this early that they announce in the investor day, but eventually there's a good possibility, right, that Tesla investor will get the priority on the Starlink IPO.
That's right. So I think if Tesla doesn't want to have too many messages in one event, just like how Apple tries to spread their iPhone, iPad launches, Apple Watch launches in different events, I think the focus for Investor Day would be the Master Plan Part 3, the planet-wide scale, more mining integration, more mining operations, more gigafactories, factories not just for EVs, but for mega packs as well and other products. I think there may be a chance where they talk a little bit more about how all this is coming together. I feel that there's an opportunity for Tesla to really start calling out their ecosystem. Like say, okay, we're going to launch a Tesla family plan. So imagine everyone in Chris family, you've got like one, it's like an Apple One account. That's how they create ecosystem stickiness. We're going to launch the Tesla App Store. So I think the pieces are coming together for a platform ecosystem to really develop. I don't think they'll talk much about Tesla bot in Investor Day because Elon has mentioned that they're already going to do annual AI Day. So if AI Day is going to happen every year around September, that's going to be the main event for Tesla bot.
Okay. Thank you for sharing your thought on Investor Day. I know short-term price are, unpredictable, and we don't really want to go deep down that topic. But since Investor Day coming up, I got to ask your thoughts because right now, Tesla has outperformed the market a lot in these couple of weeks. And I think one of the reasons we can't argue with is that it's because Investor Day is one of the big factors that people are hyped up about it. So in your opinion, you think is price still holding on to this level despite the macro? Is because Investor Day or not? And will Investor Day be a disappoint event and the sell-off coming right after? What's your thought?
My personal view is that Investor Day is going to be more mission focused versus investor focused, even though it's called Investor Day, ironically.
Elon did correct that.
Yeah, Elon tweeted recently that it's going to be people focused. So I think the market's actually going to react negatively to Investor Day. Institutional investors want to see, okay, we're going to bring 100 Cybertrucks on stage and deliver the first 100 customers.
Yeah.
Institutional investors want those very practical, showy marketing things, but that doesn't excite Elon. The Cybertrucks will come, they may talk a little bit about it, but I don't think there's anything that's going to wow institutional investors on Investor Day. I think it's going to have a bigger effect in inspiring more people to work for Tesla. I think it's going to be a very effective recruitment event, and I think it's a chance to celebrate the retail investors.
Okay. As long as the recruitment days works, as long as it works, it's good for us long-term investor because we're in this company for a long term, right? So the more talent they're bringing, although the short-term stock price doesn't reflect, then it doesn't matter to us. We just keep collecting. Is that correct, Daren?
And I want to build on this point is that a lot of retail investors feel very frustrated that institutional investors don't get it. Like, why don't you see the Tesla that we see? I think that's a good thing for retail investors right now. You've got this window opportunity to continue buying the stock while most people don't get it. Because next year in 2024, when the Model Y is the world's top-selling car, when they're selling more cars than BMW and Mercedes, everyone is going to get Tesla like how they get Apple today. You buy Apple, no one's going to say, Chris, are you crazy? No one. You'll be like, sure, why not? Warren Buffett holds 70% of his portfolio on Apple. Go buy Apple. I feel that Tesla is going to start becoming that next year when it's too obvious. So if you have the next 10 months as a retail investor, consider, is this an opportunity? It's like, do you want to buy Apple before iPhone launch? Yes, right? But if you look at all the financial metrics at Apple before iPhone launch, most people will not buy Apple. The Apple did not have investment grade credit rating before iPhone launch. Apple had less cash on hand than Tesla today before iPhone launch. Apple was not known as a phone company before iPhone launch.
Correct.
So it's for us to consider that while you may think you're very frustrated now that the world doesn't get Tesla, that's precisely the opportunity. Now, there's a lot of problems and risks with Tesla, which we'll come to later, but this is one of the opportunities.
Thank you, Daren, for pointing out two things. That one, I know we're frustrated that people don't get it. If everyone gets it, the price will go up, right? But yes, but that's the opportunity for us to accumulate. And think about it. If everybody gets it, the price will not be at this point, like Daren said. So that's the first thing you point out. And thank you for pointing out about Investor Day, that this could be possibly be a bit of letdown, because obviously we don't want people, even though we both believe in Tesla, we don't want everyone to just pile in to the price while, it just came up so fast and it's built on this one event. I mean, Tesla should be a long-term story rather than just trying to guess if this event is going to be a make or break on the price. So I don't want anyone to go all in on this price point. So thank you, Daren, for bringing it up. We have about just 5 to 10 minutes left. I'm just going to go through a little bit of my questions, and then to wrap up for Daren. One important question I want to ask you, Daren, because you talk about Apple's transforming to, from what computer company until today. There's a lot of things that they've gone through, right? So 20, 30 years stories. What about Tesla? How long are you planning to hold on to your stocks in Tesla?
2030 is a good time horizon that gives it a good 10 years. It's kind of like Dave Lee's time horizon, at least so far to date.
Okay, so that's your initial plan, 10 years. Okay.
That's right.
We'll be right with you on that, Daren. Yeah. And we've talked a lot about all the upsides and all the exciting things about Tesla. Mr. Tawi Wood asked about the risk instead on the other side. What do you see as a major risk in Tesla in the next 3 to 5 years? Both EV and energy business.
Okay. The first most basic risk is if you just see Tesla only as a car company, and I want to let investors know that it is okay if you just see Tesla only as a car company. That is fine. Everyone can see it in a different way. You don't have to follow everyone else. If you see it as a car company, the biggest risk immediately is if BYD can make EVs that are good enough, especially at the below $25K US dollar price range. Because at that price range, people buy cars that are good enough. People don't need to buy the best car. And BYD cars are pretty good. The battery technology is used in Giga Berlin as well. The BYD ships blade batteries to Giga Berlin. Their integration is pretty well made. They are scaling very well. So if BYD makes cars that are good enough at a below 25K price range, that would decrease Tesla's ability to scale as much as they want. It will basically be a two major automaker car market in many parts of the world. Of course, there's protectionism, like Japan or South Korea may try to protect their local car companies, but otherwise, these two car companies will be very, very big.
So you see it as a real risk.
That's number one.
Risk on that. Yeah. And what's your thought on the recent Charlie Munger's comment about BYDs being way ahead of Tesla in China?
I think it's important to look at the person's actions, not just their words. He says so, but his company just sold 40% of their stake in BYD. Why? So actions matter more than words. Now, the second biggest risk then is that Tesla's board of directors is taken over by people with short-term thinking, or institutional investors start taking over Tesla's board of directors. Then the whole board of directors goes from a mission-oriented board of directors to one that focuses more on short-term. Oh, let me please investors by giving more stock buybacks. Let us make sure that margins are up this quarter. I don't care what happens to long-term product development. Robots, people are scared of it. Let's scrap development of robots. Just keep it quiet. It's too controversial. Tesla's board of directors is very important to keep strong and keep it mission-oriented. Okay. There's a lot of people who've been asking, you must do stock buybacks now, or you must rein in Elon's Twitter tweets. And that's going to be usually great countries, great companies die from inside.
I see.
There are very few employees that could like overtake Tesla, but the board of directors could really change Tesla's direction if we don't have the right people in there. That's
your second risk. Okay, so risk number 2. Thank you. First is competition on price margin. 2 is the internally risk, board of director or the leader direction. I think we've seen it with Apple too, right? The day Steve Jobs got fired back then, correct? Like all that, and then he had to come back and all. Okay.
Yeah, Apple research office. I've got one last point. The third last point here is Elon making too many political enemies because of Twitter and SpaceX. And political enemies could lead to assassination threats. It's why you see security go up so much. But it could also lead to regulatory risk. That means regulations that are against Tesla. For instance, in the US, initially, some of the Model Y variants did not qualify for the EV tax credits. They had to do negotiations with the president, and now they are more friendly. They open up the superchargers. All Model Ys get the EV tax credit.
Thank you. So 3 risks there from there. And third is the political from SpaceX and Twitter, as we know. There's one more risk that a lot of fans are asking in. Nat and Nan are asking the same thing. What about the risk of Elon not being the CEO anymore? Is that you consider that a risk?
I think it comes back to first principles thinking. Like initial gut reaction is Elon's gone or Tesla is bad. But a better question asked is, can the company still continue growing and doing well without Elon, without new products? It's like Apple. When Steve Jobs left, everyone like, oh, I'm going to sell my Apple stock. But Apple stock grew by 15 times after Steve Jobs left. 15 times. That's pretty good returns. So we must go back to first principles and ask, has Elon built enough that Tesla will continue thriving and growing? What is the new CEO like? What if JB Straubel comes back and becomes the next CEO of Tesla? Someone which Elon Musk admires a lot and was one of the co-founders of Tesla. He's now the CEO of Redwood Materials for battery recycling. So rather than just looking at the headline, we need to ask ourselves, what's the truth? What are the facts?
Yeah, so to answer that question, so you won't sell Tesla stock regardless of Elon, regardless of who replaced Elon, or is there a chance of you kind of like see out first what happened?
The answer is it depends. So it depends. We need to understand the facts. If the fundamentals have changed a lot, like really short-term thinking people have taken over Tesla, I may sell the stock. But the answer is it depends. It is not an automatic I sell the stock the moment Elon's gone.
Okay. Thank you, Daren. Before I let you wrap up the show, Nan, who's very active today, is asking on the big day, I think she meant Investor Day. Will Elon talk about Twitter becoming part of Tesla? Any chance of that?
No. I don't see that happening.
Okay, I don't see that too. So Nan, not sure where you get the news from. Please share with us all that. Okay, so thank you. So that's one hour with Daren Yoong. So Daren, thank you very much. Before we wrap up, just wanted you to share with the fans of your plan, because what of your upcoming road trip. Like what you're about to do. I heard something exciting. Road trip in Thailand. What is it about?
First, I'm coming to Thailand next week. So I'll be in Thailand on 1st March to 7th March. I'm going to be in Chiang Mai for the first 3 days, the 1st to 3rd March. Then on 4th March, I'm filming a Tesla Model Y road trip with a Tesla owner, Skip, who's on our channel. He's the first Model Y owner in Thailand, actually. He got his Model Y about 15 months ago. So we're driving a Model Y from Chiang Mai down to Bangkok in the morning. And then I'll meet Chris and some of the Tesla investors here in Bangkok. So I have a couple of days in Bangkok from 4th to 7th March. If you're around, I'm free. My calendar is free and easy. I'm happy to meet investors and Tesla owners. Love to learn from you. Happy to have meals with you as well.
Yeah. So if you're already in our group, Tesla Investor Thailand, do ask about. We'll share its detail in the group that we're meeting Daren. So you guys hear about that. If you're not, join the group. What are you waiting for? And and if not, you can see Daren's road trip on his channel on YouTube, Daren Yoong, over there. All right, Daren. Before, so that's the trip. So before we wrap up, anything you want to share? Your last thoughts with the fans here tonight, please.
Like for our fans, while we believe in Tesla, always look at things at a first principle standpoint, which means also your own situation. So use a margin as much as you can because things are volatile. Anything can happen. You don't need to be all in Tesla. You don't have to feel pressured by other people. If you feel comfortable with Tesla being 5%, 10% of your portfolio, that is okay as well. There's room for all kinds of people. We're all here to help each other be better investors. And there are many paths to success. You don't need to, in fact, you can be very successful without investing in Tesla. Tesla is just one way.
Thank you, Daren, for sharing. That actually, sorry, we were supposed to end the show, but that brought me to this very last question. Why, though, that 25% of Apple, though? Are you holding that 25% of Apple as something kind of like a base? If something wrong happened to Tesla, so you can kind of like use this money to invest in Tesla? Is that it? Or is there something?
That's right.
Okay. So I didn't
Apple's my inflation beating liquidity. It is relatively stable. It's not going to moon. It's not going to crash that much. If it crashes, you'll be like Nokia. You'll see it years ahead. You'll see it coming. So that's the role of Apple in my portfolio. And I love the company. I genuinely love Apple. I'm a big user. And that's my small way of showing support. My goal personally is not to maximize fully investment returns. My goal is to live a comfortable life for myself and my family. And investing in companies I love allows me to have skin in the game as I continue to use their products, learn about their products.
Thank you, Daren. Now I know the reason why, and thank you for explaining, and thank you for sharing the fans that to invest safe, do not use margin, and try to proportion your stocks as you're comfortable. No need to be pressured, and you can be successful as an investor in many ways, not just Tesla or not just any individual stocks. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That's Daren Yoong. Hopefully this will not be the. Hopefully we'll invite you back around a lot more, Daren, to greet your Thai fans. And for tonight, me and Daren has to say goodbye to everyone, and we'll see you on the show next day. Thank you, everyone.
Bye bye, everyone. ขอบคุณครับ
Thank you.